Okay, so we're up to the malacha that comes after sheichet. If we did sheichet, shechting, I'm talking about the malachas of the now, of the skin, of the hides of the animal. Right, so we went through so far we did malachas hapas, the order of the breads, say the hapas, from planting to baking and all that. And then we did from the arrears, from the sewing, the threads, the tviyah, all these malachas. And now up to the hides. So we saw first thing we do is trap the animal. We had trapping, we had shechting, last week killing, everything that went along with that. And this week we're up to Sat Jul malacha. It's the malacha of Mafschit, of skinning the animal. You can't get the hides off. You have to get the hides off the animal. You have to skin it. It's a short malacha. If we have time, we'll also get into ma'abed. Started at least, that's a little bit longer. So, the malacha of mafshit, skinning the animals. So obviously they needed the iris of the choshen in the Mishkan. They needed these hides to use as the roof, so to say, of the Mishkan. You use the Mishkan, use it as the roof for coverings. And to get it off, so they had to be mafshit. They would peel it off the animal. They would remove the skins, the hides from the animal. There were different ways actually of removing it. Depends what you look in the Gemara. Depends what you wanted to make with the hides. If you wanted to make canteens, you would remove it a certain way. If you wanted it to be whole, you would sort of try to take it from the legs and open it up, that you had the hole on. It's a little harder way of being mafshit. The easier way is to cut it in the back and take it, or cut it in the stomach actually, and take it. There are different ways of doing it, but the point is, you're separating the skin from the animal. That's the malacha. Now, we had, when we were learning boirer, they were learning malacha boirer back then. So we said peeling an orange is a malacha boirer, because besides for taking away the bad from the good, or the mixed together, but if you have to separate two things that are attached, like we had taking bones off the chicken, we'll see later, skins off the chicken is very relevant to this. These kind of things is a malacha of boirer, because you're removing, when you have to separate two things that are attached, even if they're not necessarily mixed together, that's called being mixed together if they're attached. And to separate is malacha of boirer. So if one wanted to peel an orange on Shabbos, we said it has to be done samach to the achila, to eating it, even though you're taking the bad from the good. But since that's the only way to do it, it's impossible to get the orange off the peel. The orange is inside the peel, so you can't take the good from the bad. So you're allowed to, in this case, take off the peel from the orange. But you have to do it samach chasud, that's the malacha of boirer. The question is, taking the skin off the animal, besides for the malacha of mafshit, is it not also a malacha of boirer? Because it's the same as taking the peel off an orange and taking the skins off the animal. So, is it that it's included in this malacha?
Isn't that taking the good off from the back? Because in this case you want the skin.
Oh, so this will be a simple answer you're saying. In this case you're taking the good from the bad, because what you want is the skin. So you're actually taking the good from the bad. So even taking the good from the bad could also be boirer if you don't need it for right away. Let's say I take the good out of the bad. I take I have raisins and a nut mixture, or I have nuts with shells mixed together, and I take the nuts out of the shells. If I do it for later, that's also malacha boirer. So the skins, you have to know if it's for right away, they use it right away, you're right, that wouldn't be a malacha boirer. But if it's for later, it possibly would be a malacha boirer. But nonetheless, that's an answer that is given. You're taking the good off the bad. So that may be different than a malacha boirer, even though here sometimes you're using it for right away, for later. You're doing it for later. You have to say it's a little bit of a different malacha. It's a little bit different malacha, because it seems the point you're making is true. That if, let's say, I'm skinning the animal not for the hides, I have no interest for the hides itself. So it's actually a Gemara in Shabbos, a very interesting Gemara in Shabbos, which is a little bit relevant. The Gemara in Shabbos says on Pesach, on Pesach they do on Shabbos, and they shechted it on Shabbos. They shechted on Shabbos, and they would need to eat it. Let's say Motzei Shabbos, they would need to eat it, so they could wait to skin it after Shabbos. The only question was that sometimes it would spoil. So the machlokes there if they were able to skin it fully on Shabbos. But what they were able to do was take off a little bit of the hide. They had to get to the certain parts of the animal had to go on the mizbeach. They knew him, so they were able to. They had to skin it a little bit just to get into the. So they would go from the legs and skin the animal a little bit, and then they'll be able to get to the emurim, those parts, the fats that had to go on the mizbeach. And then the rest possibly could wait till after Shabbos to skin before you eat it. Or, that's machlokes there, or if maybe you skin the whole thing that it shouldn't spoil. If you leave it together, it could spoil, you have to take it and store it. There's all that whole shiloh in the sugi over there in the Gemara. So, the Gemara says that since if you mafschit the ar for the purpose of the meat, not for the purpose of the hide itself, you just want to be able to get to the meat. So that's not the malacha of mafschit. Nor isk. It's a psik resha, because I'm doing a malacha of taking it off. The Gemara doesn't ask us a malacha shein tzricha l'gufa. We explained this once. Malacha shein tzricha l'gufa means I'm doing the same malacha for a different purpose. So here you would say I'm doing the same malacha for a different purpose to get to the meat. But no, we don't view it like that. We look at it a whole different malacha. Skinning the animal for the meat, because I want to eat the meat, so I'm skinning on the animal. That's not a malacha of mafschit at all. It's not a malacha. The malacha is only skinning it for the skins. Mafschit is taking off the skins. It's a different type of malacha. But skinning it to get to the meat is not considered the malacha at all, and we'll see this relevant later. And therefore, it's not really malacha. There's a psik resha. At the same time that I'm trying to get to the meat, agav, I'm doing skinning. I can use the skins. I can use it. So it's a psik resha. I'm doing the malacha. The Gemara asks, the psik resha is also. But if you wanted to understand the malacha is taking the skins. That's the malacha. Taking the skins off. So
why would you be getting the meat on Shabbos?
For a carbon, you need to get the fats out, and you need to get.
But I mean today.
Today, let's say it's not that relevant by a cow, but we'll see by let's say a chicken. We'll see about skinning the animal on Yom Tif. You want to skin the chicken to cook the food.
Only on Yom Tov, though.
On Yom Tov, on Shabbos you can't cook. Yeah.
It's just an issue for you.
Yeah, if you shecht for a chayla sheyesh b'sakana, today, we're used to just buying out the meats. And in the old days, if they needed meat, sometimes they had to shecht an animal. So the Gemara says if you have a chayla sheyesh b'sakana, you have a chayla that's sick, and you need a shecht for him. So you can shecht for him, and you need to get to the meat. So you could you have to skin part of the animal and take the meat out.
For a chola anyways, wouldn't be an issue anyway.
It could be an issue, because maybe I can only skin what's necessary. Otherwise I'll just peel a little bit off. I have to be aware that there's a malacha. You only do the minimum that's necessary. So it is a malacha that's, in the general terms, is not really so relevant. We're not skinning animals, most of us, on Shabbos today. So it varies out to us. It's important to understand the malacha. There's actually a very interesting case where it does come up. We'll see. But let's understand what the malacha is. The malacha is taking the skins, and for some reason it's not considered. We don't view it necessarily as boirer, because here, like you're saying, the purpose is to take the skin, not to get the meat. If the purpose was to get the meat, that would be boirer. The purpose is to get the skin, to use the ar. So this is called the malacha of the tikkun of the ar. That's the malacha of mafschit. Now, the Gemara ends off of there. Interesting. The Gemara comes off of there in Shabbos. The Gemara says that there is a way to skin without actually being over on the malacha of mafschit, and that is, the Gemara says, the mitzvah is barze. In other words, instead of peeling off the whole skin in the regular way, you do it like these are hides, you peel little pieces off. Like you peel an orange, you peel pieces off. So you peel pieces of the hide off. So that's not considered a malacha of mafshit, and the reason is because it's obvious the way you're doing the malacha is not for the purpose of the skin. The way you're doing the malacha is just to get to the meat. So therefore, it's not considered a malacha. Rashi says it's asim midrabanan, and Place says it's actually mutter. It's not even a shvus. It's mutter, barring muktzah issues. It's not. There's no shvus either. Just to peel it. Rashi seems to say it's drabanan. Place seems to say it's mutter. So. That's not a malacha. Malacha is taking it to use it for the purposes that it's for the hides. That's basically the malacha. Now, if you wanted to make something small, and all you need is a little bit of hide, then a place can say, even if you do it in such a fashion, it will be usher, because why can't I just need a small? There is a shear kedelashes kamiya, right? We don't make kamiyas that often today, but a kamiya is that they would wrap a little pouch. They make a little pouch and they put some Scheiner and who knows what in there. That would be a protection for the person, or a four, hang it on the neck. That was a kamiya. The says a person's allowed to go out with a kamiya on Shabbos. I don't know. I like to sit in the Gemara going out with a kamiya. So kamiya is you ever seen one? No. It's a kamiya. I believe the big machlokes between Yaakov Emden and Jonas and Mafschit, the machlokes rocked the whole Europe in the time. That started over a kamiya that Jonas and Mafschit wrote. Yaakov Emden felt that it was off, and that was the impetus for the big machlokes. So kamiyas are shameless, right? But anyway, that's the shear of how much skin you take off that you'd be chayiv if you do that. Chatzi shear could be is asim b'natayr also, but that's only if you're doing it for a purpose. But if you're doing it just to peel off the liver's bazik, to peel off for the skin of the animal, that's not considered a malacha. So that seems to be the general malacha of mafshit. Okay. Good? So far so clear?
Okay. I mean, I'm a little confused with the last point. Didn't we say that if it was just for the sake of the meat, then it was mutter already? So why do we have to do this other way of taking off little pieces?
Yeah, so if you just do it for the sake of the meat, it's not really the malacha.
Right.
The Gemara says it's a psik ratio. In other words, since...
Oh, it is a psik ratio.
It's a psik ratio, because even though I'm doing it for the meat, but at the end of the day, I have a whole hide here, so at the same time, unintentionally, I'm doing the malacha of the mafshit. But if I chop it off, that's not even the derech of doing the malacha, so that's not considered a nissa. Okay, so let's get to other applications of this malacha. There's one other application of the malacha, which the Rambam calls a tolda. Now, it's interesting that a tolda, every av malacha has to have a tolda, otherwise it wouldn't be called an av. And the Gemara is clear about this, because Moshe, you have certain medachlik, you have certain malachas that aren't counted in the 39 in the 39 malachas because it doesn't have a tolda. So the malacha has to have a tolda. So what's the tolda of mafshit? It's a good question. Mafshit is pretty straightforward. You're skinning the animal. We'll see what tolda of that. So the Rambam brings a tolda, and the tolda the Rambam brings is when you take when you have you want to make you want to write a secretary, right? So it's parchment. It's all made. These things are all made from the skins of the animal. So what the skin of the animal is thick, and what they would do is they would split it in half. Take it and peel it in half. And one is the outer skin, and one is the inner skin. Okay. Sometimes you have ritzuos that are made from the outer. Sometimes you have ritzuos of children that are made from the inner. The difference is that the outer one is a little more tough and harder. Lasts longer, and the inner one is softer, and the paint starts peeling, and it's more porous, and it could be more problematic. On the other hand, it's much more comfortable, the inner one, because it's softer, softer. But when you take a skin and you peel it in half, so this is the Rambam, Mafarak, the chsustus, me'al klaf. So the chsustus is the posher side of the is the meat side of the skin, and the klaf is the half that's near that goes by the hair, the outer side. So that's a tolda of mafshit. You're peeling it, you're separating. It's a tolda of mafshit. You're also peeling. You're peeling one side of the skin off the other side of the skin. That's mafshit. It seems that it's Rosh created the skin in such a way where it's somewhat double layered. So it's like peeling it. If I take a skin and I cut it in half, that's not mafshit. I'm cutting it this way, but it could be peeled. So that seems to go under the category of mafshit. That's a malacha. This is a tolda. This is what Rambam says. This is a case of a tolda of the malacha of mafshit. Okay, so that's the malacha. That's the malacha. Doesn't seem too relevant. So the question is like this: what about you come, you're sitting down for the Suda Friday night, and you don't like the skin on the chicken. You want to peel off the skin of the chicken. Okay? So we spoke about Baira when we were learning Baira. It's an issue of Baira. Maybe I'm taking the bad from the good. Maybe it's not. It's machlokes. We said it's a machlokes if taking the skin off the chicken is like bad from the good, or it's the Moshe Feinstein holds it's like one big food. It's not the bad from the good. It's chicken. It's all chicken. It's all chicken to eat. But what about the malacha of mafshit, of skinning? Is there any problem of mafshit? Now this question, we have to discuss two things in order to understand this. First, we have to know if mafshit applies by a bird. Okay, that's the first question. Is mafshit only by an animal, a behemoth, a gasus, a akas? But what about, is mafshit by a bird? That's the first question. And by fish also. Yeah, what? Maybe it's even a have. I mean, it's very unclear. It's a skinning. So what's considered skinning? So is this a malacha? Taking a bird, taking a chicken, shech the chicken, now you skin its skin off. You want to skin the skin off. Is that a malacha? So the Prima Garden says that no, the Torah says we learn out from the Mishkan. So whatever was in the Mishkan is a malacha. Whatever's not in the Mishkan is not a malacha. So peeling the skin of an animal is a malacha. Ein ar kiyim shel behema. The only thing that's called ar is by behema. Everything else is called food. It's not called ar. It's not called skin. It's not called skin. And so by behema it's called skin. That's what we see in the Mishkan. By a chicken, we don't have it in the Mishkan. And also, it's not called skin. We call it skin of a chicken, but it's not hide. It's not hide. It's all meat, and therefore no malacha of skinning a chicken or a fish, for that matter. But that's one opinion. But the halacha is that you can write a sefer Torah on chicken hide. It's considered ar. It's considered ar. So the Aruch HaShulchan says that it is gam avshatas ar shel oifa or dog havi od malacha. The lehed yamin b'Shabbos that yesh lam oiris, and that's it. He holds that it's a real malacha deraisa to take off the skin of a real machlokes here. The Aruch HaShulchan holds it's a malacha deraisa to take off to skin an animal or chachli the animal to skin is a malacha deraisa, and the Mashas, the Prima Garden held that it isn't a malacha. The halacha l'maisa basically is machlokes, but the bottom line is that's all when the animal is dead but not cooked yet. Once you cook the chicken and you cook the fish, once you cook it, so then everybody seems to hold that it's not a malacha for various reasons. Either because once you cook it, it's all considered food. So it all has a din of food. You cook it together. That's one reason given. Another reason given is because it's through the process of cooking, it sort of falls off by itself. It comes off by itself. So you're not doing the malacha of mafshit by peeling it off anymore. It's only when it's still raw that it's really stuck on. That's another reason given. But another reason given is because it's legara It's like Gara from Boirer. Just like Boirer, I'm allowed to do it derech achila. I'm allowed to peel, like we said, peel an orange and eat it. Derech achila alter is mutter. So Mafschit is the same thing. And if I have my chicken and the skin on it and I don't want the skin and I peel it off, it's derech achila, so that's mutter. The only difference is, according to that reason, it would only be mutter la'alter, if I'm eating it right away. According to the other reasons, no malach of Mafschit will be mutter in any case. Now, you have a problem with butter anyway, so you can only do it right away. So anyways, peeling off the skin of the chicken may be a problem with butter. According to Moshe, maybe it's not. But if it's a problem with butter anyway, then I can only do it right away before I eat it. But as Mafschit, it would depend on these two opinions. If the reason is because it's derech achila, so that's only mutter b'shas I'm eating it. If the heter is because it's all an eichel anyways, it's not considered Mafschit, or it separates by itself, it's not considered a Mafschit, so that would be a heter l'gami.
So who says that's not derech achila?
Derech achila, I believe it's the Aruch HaShulchan. Let me just take a look. I believe it's the Aruch HaShulchan. Aruch HaShulchan, I think, says that. Basa.
Again?
It's like basa, yeah, Aruch HaShulchan.
That's also by when we talk about choytech, there's also a shadow whether you have this idea of derech achila.
Like cutting it.
Yeah. Like how about whether you have a heter miyad, right?
By what? By mechatech?
Yeah.
Mechatech by echlin.
Yeah. Because really it's only said by Boyer, right? This idea of miyad and derech achila.
Yeah, you have a few other things. You mean by teichen? By teichen. Yeah, by teichen you have the same for miyad, right?
And I have here also.
It could be by Mafschit also. The Chashuk is saying it's basa. It's no issue Mafschit at all. But the others are saying that it's only derech achila. It's only derech achila. It has that heter. So that's why we're not so concerned with people peeling their chickens when they eat it for these reasons. Oh. Mishas Yehuda says derech achila, that while you're eating it. So basically, this malach is not as relevant as other cases. You have on Yom Tif, but Yom Tif hefshit is mutter. It's mutter. There's no issa d'oraisa because by Yom Tov the malacha is mutter because you're allowed to do shech, so you're allowed to do the malacha necessary for the meat. Now, where's the interesting case where this comes up? The question is like this: is there an isser hefshit on basar while the animal's alive to peel off the skin? Okay, in most cases not so relevant. But let's say if you have to do an operation or something, you have to take skin off. Let's say on a human, is there an isser hefshit on the basar of a human? The doctor has to do an operation, and he has to take the skin off of one place and graft it on somewhere else. These things happen. Is that a malacha d'oraisa? It could be mil nafkaminas here. Is that a malacha of shut the skin of a human? Where does this really come legeya? A bris milah. The person can say they never heard of such a thing, that there's an issa mafshit on the R, because if that would be the case, a bris milah you have two parts of the bris. You have the chatichas arla, and then you have the hafshat, the priya. You have the priya. You peel the skin down. So the Shabbos, on Shabbos, you have a bris on Shabbos. So there are all kinds of halachas. Once you cut, you can't go back and cut other parts that you missed. Sometimes it doesn't cut enough. It goes back and cuts a little more. So there's all kinds of Shabbos. If you're allowed to do it, when you're allowed to do it, depends how much you cut. Right? It's in ma'akrin, it's in shein ma'akrin. But hafshata, we never heard there's an issur to go and be mafshit now to do the priya, to peel it down, to go back later and do it again. That doesn't seem to have been a malacha d'oraisa. Now there are a few issues here that could be discussed about a malacha d'oraisa. There's one which I forgot to mention, this is a big machlokes here, is if you peel the skin of an animal, let's say you're skinning the animal, okay, you peel the skin of the animal, but you don't detach it fully from the hide. Like Shabbos has such a case. You want to just get to the ingurim inside, you want to just get the fats out so you can bring it on the back. So you peel part, but it's still attached to the meat. It's just part of it is peeled. Is that a malacha of mafschit? Or mafschit is only when you fully detach it from the basar. It's a big shiloh. So if you hold that mafschit is only if you fully detach it, so then you don't have this issue. Because when you're doing priya, you're not fully detaching it. You're only detaching part of it. So that's one svara why you don't have the malacha of mafschit by priya. Priya says the thing. But some hold that it is a malacha even if I don't fully detach it. So you have a few other svaras. Again, we said if the purpose of hafshata is only if you need the skin. But if I don't need the skin, I'm just trying to push it away, that's not really the malacha. Now maybe it's a psik reshe, but maybe psik reshe is only by hides of an animal where people are going to have use of the hides of an animal. But something which is clear, there's no use of this or priya except it stays there, that might not be a malacha at all. So here you have another answer where I'm not doing it for the purpose of the hide, I'm doing it for the purpose of just removing it. Mm-hmm. That could be another reason. But then there's the overall shaila, is there hafshata on the skin of on the human skin at all? Is there or isn't there? That seems to also be a nidin in the poskim, whether this applies. It says that, but there's here. Beis Ephraim says Beis Ephraim holds is the malacha of hefshet on the oil of Adam, and the others disagree. That says there's no such thing as hafshata. It's not the normal thing to do. It's not included in the malacha. So this is a shaila. So by Mila, it doesn't seem to be that the place can hold it is an issue of mafschit for all these reasons. But for other medical reasons, if a person actually does need the skin, to take it off, to use it for something else, for grafting or something else, it could be there is a malacha. Okay, you may have other issues, making chabura and all other things, but as a malacha mafschit, that would come in, that would be a little relevant. I think that covers mafschit. It's not a malacha that you deal with every day, but it's something that's there.
Sorry, you're saying before to take off the skin in small pieces, the liver's bars.
Right.
Would that apply to a skin graft, that it wouldn't be a problem? You're not taking off the whole skin, you're only taking a piece of the skin?
No, but you need that piece. You need that piece.
The problem with the liver's bars is that you're showing that you're not...
You don't need it, right, but if you need that piece, that would be a problem. There is a heter, though, also, they bring down that it's not enough of a shear. It's only a chatzi shear, because there's a shear, lashes kamiyah, so it could be it's not enough of a shear, which is only a chatzi shear, so possibly that's another tzad kula, even though it's chatzi shear. Still also, but it's a tzad kula, to the other ones. Skin grafting, depending how much is necessary and needed. Okay, so that's the malacha mafschit. I think that covers that. Then the next malacha is ma'abed. Ma'abed is much more negay and relevant to halacha l'maisa. But we'll just go through a little bit what it is, because different parts. It's actually a Mishnah Brura. It's brought down in interesting cases, So we brought down things that are more relevant. But the process of ma'abed works like this: after they would skin the animal. After they would skin the animal, they would what's the English word for ma'abed? Tanning. So tanning is a 3-step process. It's really 2-step, but the first step is split in half. So the 3-step process go like this. First, they would salt it. They would salt it to soften it, to make it actually harden it, because they actually remove the moisture from it. The problem was like this, that the skins of the animals, and if you leave it, it's going to get fafolt, it's going to spoil and not geschmack, and you can't use it. So the first thing you have to do is preserve it to some degree. So preserving it is part of the malacha of ma'abed, of tanning it. So what they would do is they would put it salt in and let it sit in the salt. That's the first thing. Then they would put it into a much stronger thing, tanners. They would put it into some kind of brine, which was very strong, and that would they all had different kinds of chemicals they put in there. You read all the stories about the people, the tanners that risk their lives and spend their whole lives with this poison, dipping it in. But that's what they do. They would stick it in, and sometimes it would stay in these things for days. The Gemara actually says it wasn't a geshmak malach because the tanners would smell and stink, and come to shul smelling like a tanner. But that's what they would do. They would stick it in this solution, and it would remain in that solution for quite a bit. And then they would actually stretch it. Once it's, I guess it's cured, so they would stretch it to flatten it out, all the bumps and the stuff that it's in there. And then the last step would be that they would finish it. To finish it would mean that they would actually, at some place they would trample on it to make it hard, or they'd actually make it soft by putting oils on it. They'd put oils on it that would soften it up, and that would actually give it the texture that it has. The leather has certain texture. So depending on what they apply to it, how much oil they apply to it, and different things, that would be that would be the texture of the thing. So there's the three parts of ma'abed. So they would salt it, then they would tan it, and then they would put the texture on it.